I want to show a little bit of an analysis of COVID data in this country. A little bit, show you some charts. Everyone likes charts, right? Show you all some charts. So this is from healthsystemtracker.org. COVID-19 leading cause of death ranking. So, we have a chart here, but I'm going to read a little bit of this. This brief examines how deaths from COVID-19 rank among other leading causes of deaths in the United States. At the time of this brief, COVID-19 is on track to be the third leading cause of death in the U.S. for the third year in a row. COVID-19 claimed 340,000 lives in 2020, 475,000 lives in 2021, and so far has taken 230,000 lives in 2022 through September. We find that nearly as many people died of COVID-19 in January and February of 2022 as the typical deaths from heart disease, though COVID-19 deaths have declined since then. Now, one thing that this is not mentioning is that January and February occur. Now, again, winter is going to be a lot more infections, a lot more deaths. But also what happened in February is the CDC begun the process of expunging forms of data tracking. So that's an important thing to factor in here. February, March, and April. By April, they had pretty much thrown away a lot of data tracking when it comes to COVID. Max the dog is under my chair. Max, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? It's gonna fucking... God dang dog. So that's another thing that I want to factor in here. A lot of states just don't even report these numbers anymore. We also find that in January and February of 2022, COVID-19 was the number one cause of death for people 45 to 84, and among at least the top four leading cause of deaths for other age groups age 5 and up. The number of COVID-19 deaths has since declined. Now again, since declined. It's really impossible to know that. It's totally foreseeable that COVID is killing less people now than it was this time last year. Totally possible. But because the CDC decided to dispute and disrupt tracking the data, tracking tests, tracking all of this stuff, we will never know. We will never know. It is totally possible that COVID is half as deadly right now as it was last year. Totally possible. We just don't know, right? You can't really trust the numbers. Again, really the only thing you can look at is excess deaths, which I'll be covering a lot when we get those numbers in at the end of this year. At the start of next year is when they do the tallies. But anyway, check this out. One thing I want to talk about in this chart, as you can see, COVID-19 is the third leading cause of death in the United States. And it has been since the pandemic started. But what are the top two leading causes of deaths? Heart disease, which is actually like 80 plus different diseases in one category. What is heart disease? Heart disease isn't just one disease. It is multiple different diseases that lead to similar symptoms, and therefore they're lumped into the same category. Cancer, another situation where, again, there's so many different kinds of cancers. They happen in so many different kinds of ways, right? They're treated in so many different kinds of ways. It is a big umbrella term. So when you factor this in, now what is COVID-19? It is a singular disease. Now again, COVID-19 can lead. It can generate things like heart disease. It could probably generate cancer. I haven't seen that many studies. I've seen studies that absolutely suggest that COVID-19 can create forms of heart disease, but I'm not sure about cancer. But either way, in this situation, we are comparing COVID-19, a singular disease, to cancer, which is like hundreds of different diseases, and heart disease, which is hundreds of different diseases, right? So you could make an argument that COVID is the leading cause of death in this country. And again, after the CDC early this year, decided to fuck with the numbers, fuck with the reporting data, fuck with data tracking, it really is hard to really know. It's hard to know what is the leading cause of death, how many people have died from COVID-19, how many people are testing positive for COVID-19. So many people don't even take tests anymore. I want to show another This is age breakdown here. Now you'll see the third leading cause of death in people ages 5 to 14 is suicide. That's fucking crazy. It actually is everyone under the age of 45. Suicide is more of a killer than COVID-19. You can make an argument that people are more likely to commit suicide because of the way that this pandemic has affected people. Everyone in this country at this point probably knows someone who's died from COVID-19. People in this country, again, pandemic or not, this country is falling apart. People are depressed, right? So again, suicide is the third leading cause of death for ages 5 to 24. But all the way up until 55, COVID-19 is the third leading cause of death. Now, again, cancer, heart disease, those are groups of different kinds of diseases. It's in a different category, you know? So it's hard to say. It's hard to say. It's totally possible that a specific kind of cancer is so widespread throughout society that, again, it could be more than the COVID-19 deaths in this instance. But again, the other thing about this, that this chart, that this information doesn't factor, is people that survive, but their bodies are fucked up. Long COVID. There are people that got infected with COVID for the first time in February, March, April of 2020, and they still can't taste food. Or maybe they can taste food, but like what used to be sweet is no longer sweet. What used to be their favorite food, they can't eat it anymore. It causes irritation. Right? There's all kinds of different ways that long COVID can affect people, and that is not captured in charts like this. And so I just want to say this. Again, a lot of people, not too many people in my audience, I know a lot of people that are COVID deniers, Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives, leftists. There are a lot of leftists that are COVID deniers. There's a lot of liberals, conservatives of course deny COVID. They deny everything. Liberals, again, deny COVID. The vice president of the United States was tweeting out yesterday that the only thing you need to do to combat COVID is get a vaccine once a year. That's fake news. That's not true. We know that vaccinations wane after a certain amount of time. We know that the virus mutates. 6-month booster shots would be more applicable than once a year booster shots. And again, that doesn't even factor in, what theoretically could be an exponentially mutating virus. So again, the White House, run by Democrats, not the Trump administration. Again, the Trump administration, garbage. But the White House, as it is, run by Democrats, is basically doing the same thing the Trump administration is. COVID's not real. It's not real. But if it is real, we're not going to tell you how to do anything about it. So, again, it's hard to say. Will this country actually get its shit together? Will this country actually decide, oh, maybe I shouldn't be a selfish psychopath? Probably not. Americans are crazy. Americans are sick, disgusting creatures. And stuff like this really makes it, hard to get up in the morning, honestly. But again, another thing that the third leading cause of death in 5 to 14-year-olds is suicide. That's another thing that I learned here, which is pretty insane. But again, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Nothing? Doing nothing is not working out. We've been doing nothing for 3 years, almost 4.